Welcome to your sophomore year at the Tragedy Academy, where you are the teacher and we are the students. Together, we will learn from past tragedy to lay the foundation for a better humanity. The only supplies you'll need: an open mind and a sense of humor. So, tilt that chair back, talk out of turn, and never raise your hand. Because this is the Tragedy Academy, and class is in session. And I'm Pure Scott. Fancy, isn't it? Little countdown.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like, where there is a countdown
Right, that's
now.
a bomb. It's a bomb. Welcome to the Tragedy Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. My name is Jay, and today I am joined by Mirko. How you doing today, Mirko?
I'm very good. Super excited to be here. So thanks.
Super excited to have you as well. Mirko is here to discuss addictions, specifically tobacco, and how he overcame it and other ways that people can overcome it as well. So, Mirko, you want to go ahead and give us your backstory on how you overcame?
So I have been smoking for, I think, around 20 years. I'm now 33. I started when I was 14 because in Italy, you start very young to smoke because it's something cool to do with your friends. But then it becomes an addiction. Like everyone thinks like, yeah, it's just a cigarette. But I find out, especially during this year, that I quit smoking last November, that the cigarette is so much more, it's a drug at the end of the day. But you keep saying, yeah, I will do it. And you keep postponing. And the problem is more years pass, more it's difficult to get rid of something very simple, which is tobacco. Because it's not heroin, it's not marijuana, it's just tobacco. But we give so much power. I was giving actually so much power. Every time I have to study, I was smoking. Every time I had a discussion with a friend, I was smoking. Everything was connected to the cigarette. Then, I don't know why, and I was thinking, I want to quit, but I just want to wake up and quit. Obviously, it's not possible because you cannot do that.
Well, I mean,
it's a lot of work, actually.
Technically, you can.
You can. I know you can.
I mean, if we're going to talk about the psychology behind it, it's the cigarette or tobacco or the addiction, you become indebted to it and feel like in order to become simply functional or normal, you have to have that cigarette to accompany it. That's how it kind of sneaks in there.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there are people that, like, as you said, there are people that they can, like, for example, I think it was my uncle. He quit, like, he was smoking like Marlboro Red, 2 packs every day for more.
We call those cowboy killers.
To another, yeah.
Cowboy
From one
killers.
day to another, he quit. He quit. And when you ask, but how did you do? I didn't want to smoke anymore. And I was like, I admire you, but I can't. I said, no, obviously you can. You just need to focus on me. And then, because I believe in the universe and energy, like what you want, it comes to you. Because I think I was ready to quit smoking. I received a call from, because I live in London, from the council, and they asked me, do you smoking? I said, I would like to try, but I cannot guarantee if I can. Don't worry, you're going to receive a call from one of our advisors and they're going to help you. But then, I don't know, I think I waited for 2 to 3 months. That moment, I was smoking actually a cigarette. They called me.
I was going to say, smokers are okay with you taking your time to get back to them if it's quitting smoking. I'm okay if you take 3 months because I get to keep smoking and I don't have to address this issue. I'm with you.
Exactly. So I was smoking and it was like, are you ready to quit smoking? Actually, I having a cigarette right now, but okay, let's try. And yeah, it was really pathetic there. They introduced me to this medicine called Champix, which basically you take it like every day while you keep smoking. And this medicine, I think it's also in America, it's called in another way. And it helps to reduce the craving from your cigarette.
Chantix, right? Is that what you said? I think Chantix, Wellbutrin, there's a couple. There's a couple of those, correct?
But there are many. But at the beginning, it was okay. I felt like obviously the side effects and etc. And I made the mistake to go on internet and read the different feedback because for me it was, but I keep smoking, to be honest, because they suggest you to keep smoking and then suddenly it dropped. I was reading these feedbacks, these comments, and it was like, yeah, but everyone can quit smoking like in 2-3 days or maybe also in 1 week. I couldn't. I reduced the cigarette level. I was about 25 per day. When I started taking, I was per day. So there was a progress. but still I couldn't say goodbye. So the advisor called me because I was in tears because I can't, like, I really can't. So don't worry, keep doing what you're doing. Maybe for you, it doesn't work straight away.
So they had you continue taking the medication.
Yeah, because they suggested to take up to 3 months. That was like, and I dropped like from 25, it was I think 10 and then 5 cigarettes per day. And then I swapped to, I don't know why, to vape. But then I was getting ready to go for a coffee and they said, I had a fight with my partner and I said, I need to discuss this with my friend. I need my vape because I need to tell this story to my friend, the vape. In that moment, I had like the epiphany of the day was, Mirko, but you don't need the vape to make a sentence or to make a speech to your friend. And they said, yeah. So I left the vape there and that's it. I stopped also taking that medicine. Never. Because then in that moment, I started realizing that it's true. Because you know that the cigarette is an addiction and everything. But there I started realizing like I'm giving to the cigarette so much power that I have already inside me. I just need to rediscover it. I can speak also in Italian, obviously. I don't need a cigarette to help me. I can think because also before I started smoking, I was able to eat, smoke, to exercise. I was doing many things. And this is the thing that when people ask me like, yeah, but I can't, I try to help them like, you can actually quit smoking. You just need to define your power. And it's tough because it's very difficult. When you quit, you need to reeducate your brain to do different things. For example, when you go to a party, everyone goes out for a cigarette and you are like there, like I would say a broccoli. There.
You're a broccoli? I've never heard this before. That is the first time I've heard somebody be referred to as broccoli. So just to give you an idea, a couple of quick things. A, my mother-in-law is from Italy. She's from Spigno. B, I used to smoke, so I do identify with you on this. I get it. And I smoked while I exercised. I smoked while I was in the Army. And I was extremely athletic, and you wouldn't have ever known. So I get that. And on top of that, my mother is actually dying of lung cancer as we speak.
Yeah, you see? Because then we always think like, yeah, but it's going to happen eventually. Or no, but also that person has got lung cancer or heart attack and etc. But he hasn't smoked in his life or in her life. So we keep justifying. But then the truth is going to kill you eventually in a way or another. Or maybe it's not going to kill it for your lungs, but for something else.
What people don't realize is that there's a bias inside of you when you're trying to research these things. It's kind of like spirituality or anything else. If you go, you sit down at Google, you crack your knuckles, and you're going to find out all about smoking and how it's not that bad, right? And you're actually just going to go to find out about smoking, but you're going to click on everything that says, that it's not necessarily just this, or if you go with filterless, it's not that, or if you're not smoking menthols, then you're okay. And then you're just going through all these things and you're justifying it to yourself as you're Googling and smoking, at the same time going, aha, so I can live another 10 years before I have to quit. You'll start bargaining years in your head before it'll actually take place. Well, everybody I heard about didn't get cancer till 50. So if I stop at 30, then I'm going to be okay. And you start negotiating. It's a fucking it's a shitty living tactic.
Funny enough that you mentioned the age. I think also the trigger point for me was because I was reading that if you quit before 33, you get 10, 15 years more. So this is the pathetic of the reality, I guess.
It's so true. And the fact of the matter is it's you don't need a cigarette. Otherwise, we'll be born with one, or everyone would have one in order to survive. Not the case. So there's no need for an actual cigarette. You have to actually find what the cigarette is replacing inside of you. There is an empty spot that requires that cigarette that you think requires that cigarette, but it's not. There's an actual mechanism in there that's making you plug it.
Yeah. What was for you, if I can ask, your mechanism behind?
Oh, for me, it was, I mean, it was a whole lot of different things. For me, it was an attached addiction to spirals and ability to, when I wasn't, it was a way to cope with depression. It was a way to cope with anxiety. But at the end of the day, I figured out that, it was actually the depression and anxiety, which in turn was rooted in something much, much deeper, likely childhood trauma, likely, all these different things, because all your experiences are layers over time that create who you are in any given moment. And if you don't do that root cause analysis, you're not going to find out that, hey, I actually have this particular body dysmorphia issue that makes me sad all the time. So in order to stand around other people, I feel like they're staring at me. So to cope, I stand there and smoke to take up that mindfulness so I don't feel that pressure of people looking at me and judging me, even though they don't give two fucks that I exist.
Yeah.
So that's how it was for me.
Yeah, I'm still actually still figure out, because for example, now I'm in Italy for holidays, and actually I didn't expect that after 8-9 months, there were moments that these cravings came back.
They will.
And it was like, and I said, why? But why right now? I mean, I flew because I don't like to fly, and it was so easy without having the cigarette, because for me it was like straight away to the smoking area, or after you landed.
Yeah, and it's so disgusting, man. When you walk in that little, because some of those airports still have the smoking areas, and I used to fly internationally, you go in that thing, it is disgusting. The thing about smoking is I hated it. I hated it every single time I put it up to my mouth. I didn't like the smell. I didn't like the taste. I didn't like anything. But for some reason, I wanted to stick my mouth on that tailpipe every day to calm down like a fucking asshole.
Yeah. And this is the thing that I'm trying to help people when you quit. Because to quit, actually, it's really easy, to be honest, because as you said, we weren't born with the cigarette, but you're going to open a Pandora box.
Yeah, you have no lid. You have no lid yet, or you haven't even looked inside the box. That's the problem. You don't even know what's in there. You've been sitting on top of it smoking.
Exactly. And that is the terrifying thing that I can see in people when they say, yeah, I would love to quit, but I'm not ready yet. Maybe next year, maybe after the holidays, maybe after this project, maybe. Because it's true, you don't know what's inside this box. Obviously, this is what I did. Like, I'm followed by a therapist as well, because as you said, there are so many emotional links, trauma, or anything that it happened actually in your life that you need to address, because otherwise you can move your attention from cigarettes.
That's everyone. Every single person has an addiction if they have not taken care of themselves to the root cause. It's what's societally acceptable. And that's the only definition, because each person has some kind of hang up. It's food, or it's exercise, or it's, too much work, or it's, drinking, or it's any other kind of drug. It's everybody's suffering from the mental illness that is existence, today. And they just don't realize that they're grabbing a hold of all these different plugs. It's kind of like having a bucket and you pour water into it, right? And you're plugging it with all these addictions so everything doesn't spill out. But the fact of it is you have to fix the holes. You can't plug them. You have to actually patch them and, find out why they exist. Yeah. What's poking the holes?
Yeah, because I think when you go to the first thing that you, let's say, find out about smoking is like, because I started when I was 14, right? So the first thing that they're going to tell you is, because you wanted to be cool, like the others. Maybe that it can be like the motivation that start.
It sounds like the first core wound, the need for acceptance that you weren't getting elsewhere, that you had to reach out and conform in some way and take on an addictive behavior. Not only do people realize, they don't realize that, you're addicted to nicotine, but you're also addicted to
Acceptance.
The acceptance, correct. All the things, the ability to speak to each other freely and have this camaraderie. And people don't realize that is an addiction as well.
Yeah. I remember the time when I started smoking and I told my mom, I have to tell you something, right? I smoke. She beat me so hard, not because I was smoking. It was like, you know why I'm beating you? Because you destroyed all my cigarettes when you were little because you didn't want me to smoke. So now you deserve like a slap.
Monkey
until the
see,
end.
monkey do.
Because-
Parents create smokers. Here's the thing. I said parents create smokers. No. Genetic and hereditary issues that you get from everyone that are the holes are what you inherit.
Yeah.
Then you just happen to catch the cigarette in the process as the first mechanism to plug it. You already had the issue before you picked it up.
Yeah. But thanks God, at least now I feel free. Now this is what I say to people. Now it's my time. Before, it wasn't really my time because as we are keep talking about that the cigarette actually cover, it's like a wall. You are not actually yourself and you are not actually your true yourself. And it's so fascinating to discover more and more things about yourself, which are scary because it's true. You oppress emotions or feelings or whatever happened in your spiritual world with just a cigarette. But when you remove it, you really take time for yourself, apart from physically that you feel actually better because you can breathe, you don't smell. Because you know how many times all my friends look at me like, oh my God, Mirko, you stink. And I was, come on, guys, it's just a cigarette. But now it's someone that is a smoker and comes closer to me. It's like,
you smell like a chimney. Like you're like, holy crap, how do you not notice what you smell like? No, you're 100% right. Well, it's just like Googling yourself into the acceptance category where it's okay to smoke. You will give yourself an allowable amount of shame in order to remain a smoker.
Yeah. And if you have any doubt, like, oh my God, I'm going to fall again, because obviously you see a lot of people smoking around you, then it's going to trigger like your cravings. But then when you pass that stage, it's fascinating to see and think like, why is she smoking? Maybe she's hiding something. That guy looks stressed. This is the reason why he smokes. This guy, I don't know, is partying, so he's smoking. And you can like read more.
I'm kind of like sitting at the bar.
The more people.
That one has, father issues. This guy is trying to peacock because he's actually really small. This one is, it's amazing. What you're explaining actually is mindfulness. You're explaining looking at the now. And once you start to slow things down, you get to see things for what they actually are. You get to see people for who they are, flaws and all. And that doesn't mean that you judge them, but you get to understand and empathize with them better. Hey, guess what? I understand why you're going through this. And I get where you're coming from with quitting smoking. When I quit smoking, it was water was my best friend. The only thing that I did was I drank so much water that my eyeballs were floating. It was just a matter of trying to flush it all out of my system.
I love water too, by the way.
Well, that's the thing. Water and coffee, actually, that's my remaining addiction.
Coffee is another addiction that is terrible.
Well, wait a minute. You're Italian. You can't get rid of it. That's in your DNA.
No, it's in my blood.
It is. It has to be. Espresso. It's everywhere.
When they ask me, how can you drink so much coffee? But it's just an espresso. It's so quick, and I can drink it anytime.
It's the same as taking shots of liquor. The more you take of them, the more, it's no different. You can either have a beer or a shot, but they're pretty much the same.
Exactly. Yeah, but it's true. The word that you said, mindfulness, that is perfect because it's true. Also, coffee can get as an addiction, like you are addicted to, because you think coffee gives me energy, coffee gives me power, coffee puts me through the day. So it depends, like, yeah, the way you put things, I think. Like, I drink coffee a lot because I like it, but I don't give that power to coffee. Like, I need the coffee to give me that.
I understand what you're saying.
I
You
don't know
don't
if
give it the power.
yeah.
And I don't give it either. I'm not going to go like somewhere for a day and be like, oh my God, I haven't had coffee yet. You know, like with a cigarette, you would plan your life around cigarettes. And that's disgusting, you know, and expect everybody else to conform to you. And that said, give yourself a break if you are trying to quit. Just keep trying. Just keep trying. Just keep trying. It will happen eventually. Don't beat yourself up. If you do trip, just pick up a bottle of water and pick up some new habits. It only takes about 3 to 4 weeks, I think, to create a habit. You can create the habit of not smoking. You're just as capable of doing that as you are, you know, smoking or not smoking.
Exactly. Yeah. And you said right, like there is no failure. Keep trying. The important thing is better to try than not do anything and think, yeah, I can, but you know what? I can't. No. Keep trying. And eventually, as you said, it will come. You know, some people ask me like, but do I need to take this medicine? No, you can go also in the wood with a shaman if it works for you. Do it. I mean, do whatever it works, because every one of us is on a different journey. So what it works, maybe for me, is stronger to take a medicine. Other people, they can, I do say they cold turkey.
Yeah, they quit cold turkey. I have no idea what that means. I feel bad for this turkey. Like he's like frozen. Are we talking about like, you know, Thanksgiving? I've never understood it. I think I need to have our intern look that up. Like, what the fuck is a cold turkey?
Yeah, we'll Google it. For me, that one is amazing. People that they can quit like from one day to another is like, because it takes courage and bold.
It's the same choice that anybody else has. It's the same choice that anybody else has. And if they did not address the issues that were causing the smoking, they probably transferred that addiction to something else.
Actually, it's true. Yeah.
You have to do that root cause. Hey, academics. Have you endured life's tragedies, trials, and tribulations? Did you adapt and overcome? Do you have advice for others to pay it forward and want to be a guest? Then email us a brief 2 to 3 minute video to show@thetragedyacademy.com and tell us how our academics can learn and grow from these experiences. Thanks again for your support. And now, back to class.
Realize, like, and I was discussing with a friend of mine, like, I think before no one was talking about mental health, personal issues, trauma. Now every one of us can be like anything.
It's okay. Well, imagine you had a whole bunch of people. Are you familiar with the game of chicken? Chicken is where two people will kind of balk doing something. They both watch each other and they'll both do, a little bit more, something like that. Everybody is playing almost like a game of chicken with the mental health question. Everybody is in this state, right? They're all walking around in it in a reality-induced mental illness, because let's face it, everything that's going on around us is what's inducing the mental illness. But nobody wants to have a discussion because what? Judgment. Because as soon as you say, I'm having panic attacks, I'm having depressive moments where I lay in bed longer and I actually don't feel like getting up, that we feel like everybody's going to judge us. When in reality, people want validation. They want to hear that you have it as well, because then what happens? Pandora's box, right? If humanity or America was Pandora's box and America was smoking for the last 20 years, what happens when you quit smoking, i.e. a pandemic? You put everybody, you sit them down, you get to find all the issues and everybody starts talking about it.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened. And it's made it okay to voice the issues that you've been toiling with, especially, the older generation, us Gen Xers, or, getting that opportunity to know that it's okay to feel the way that you felt. It's liberating. It's really liberating. And I think that we are on the precipice of something huge. I feel like that, when we push this direction, but the one thing that I caution us as people is that we do not become a victim of our mental illness. It does not become our identity. I am ADHD. I am bipolar. I am depression. I am these things. Because once you do that, you've replaced the mask of hiding mental illness with the mask of mental illness, and you're still not being authentic. You're only identifying with what is causing your issues to begin with. And you're allowing yourself to move through society with these little itty bitty biases that allow you to get away with things. And it's the same thing as wearing something different. It's the same thing as having combed hair versus tousled hair. It's the same thing when you utilize your mental illness as a tool to move through society or your relationships, then you are not living and working on your mental illness. You're using it as a tool, as another way to manipulate society and your surroundings. If you're going to preach that you want to work on mental illness, then you need to walk the walk. And that means discover why you have the mental illness to begin with. That's what you have to do. Those people that run around, manifest your life, and they just scream the same things over and over again, but they don't practice them.
I love you. I want to take your words because I have a friend of mine. Actually, what you said described a very dearest friend of mine, but she's eyed through like this mental health problem or issues and justify her behavior or like, let's say, her journey in life with this mental health. And sometimes I said to her, because we're quite close, so she needs to release. I said, I said the same thing as you said. You cannot use mental health. I mean, I understand you are suffering, but you need to do something about it. You need to practice something up with this, because you cannot keep saying at your age, after 20 years, that you suffer from this. I can't do this. I can do that. I can do this, because it doesn't work.
You're 100% correct.
Excuse. Yeah. And I said, you are losing because now we are 33, you're losing the best year of your life, complaining and justifying what? And I know it's hard when you need to dig in your soul, because it's really tough, but you need to, there are no other ways. You cannot wake up one day I'm eating.
It's surface level identification of your issues. You have to continue further down that path. You can't just discover that you have it and sit and accept. You have to find out what's behind that curtain. Why is it there? You have to take that extra step. I was thinking this morning, I was thinking about mental illness and how it is like knots in a rope. Right? If our mental health was a rope, right? Just a short piece of rope, probably 2 feet long. And every issue that we got, we had to tie a knot in it, right? And each time we got another issue, we had to tie a knot in it. And if we didn't untie a knot, we were going to have 2 knots. And then we had 3 knots. And if anybody sat there and tied knots in a rope, they start to figure out what happens to it when you get too many knots. It becomes a knot itself. It becomes just this wadded piece. In order to get back to that original piece of rope, what we were authentically made to be, because we're only a piece of rope in the beginning. We're a piece of rope when we're a child.
Yeah.
And every experience we go through can be a knot or an untangle, a knot or an untangle. And we just continue to allow ourselves to be tied into knots, and we don't free ourselves from it. And then what happens is, like you're explaining, you become a victim, or it becomes your persona. You're literally sitting there and said, you know what? I've gotten this far, and I'm going to sit here as a pile of knots. So when everybody comes up to me and they meet me, I have to say I'm a pile of knots. It's okay. Don't judge me. I'm a pile of knots. And that's not how we're supposed to not. That's not how it's supposed to be. God, what a dad joke. I love it. But that's my take on it. I try to simplify what it is so that I can unravel it in my own mind, and think about, if it's permanent, then you're never going to feel better. It's just going to be, it's an acceptable level of pain. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I'd rather just work them through. I mean, pain's going to exist. That's the other thing. Why identify as ADHD, bipolar, depression, or anxiety? Isn't that the same as letting somebody control you? We get pissed when we say, like, you can't control me. You can't tell me what to do, but you can certainly let a fucking diagnosis tell you who to be. That's dumb as hell.
Yeah.
That's literally,
And
it's like joining a fucking team.
hey, yeah, we are so we are so complex, because then all these people, they're going to use that to manipulate others or manipulate society. So it's like a circle. I can manipulate you, but
It
you
will
want
continue
to
to
manipulate
happen.
me. Like this friend of mine, actually, she manipulate. At the end of the day, even though she played the victim, she's trying to manipulate the reality to get something.
You do understand, though, she doesn't know that. She is not aware of that reality. And that's what we have to remind ourselves. Nobody will change of your accord, or with you pushing them, or with you making the decisions for them. The only thing that we can do in these scenarios, because if we are mindful and we start to recognize that people have issues, it's not our job to change another person under any circumstances. It is our job to lead by example so that other people can assimilate and become a new normal, right? And if we don't lead by example, then we're putting ourselves in confrontational moments. And it's not going to be successful ever. You can't talk the depression out of somebody. You can't talk the bipolar out of somebody. You can't talk people into going to get medication. You can't force them to do it. It has to be of your own accord. And one of the other things that'll happen is, say you do get on that mental health train and you start to figure it out. There's a grouping that will become overbearing, where they will preach and stick it down your throat every conversation that you have with them. I talk about it on the show a lot. That's because the show covers it. However, you can't tell people that they're not living their life correctly every time you see them, and they should, live like you. No. Just reap the rewards of your hard work when you're taking care of yourself. Because once you do that, you become a different human being to your friends and family. You become a different human altogether. You're putting off a different energy. You're a happy person. You're a different soul. And here's what's going to happen. One of two things. You're either going to shape up or they're going to ship out. That is it. You're going to start losing the people that don't fit the new mold. And unfortunately, that may be your friend, or your friend may actually come to that conclusion that, hey, guess what? I've dug a hole, but I haven't dug it far enough. All I've done is taken off the top layer of grass. Get down in there, find those skeletons, figure out where it started. Throw it out of the way, reap the rewards of happiness. You're doing the right thing by leading by example and talking about what you're doing, and just continue to do that. If you work on yourself first, you will always be better for those around you. It's simple.
Amen.
Respect yourself. If you don't, you'll never respect others. You just won't.
I want to write a book with you.
Dude, you know how many mistakes and BS situations I've been in life to even get like the little bit of understanding that I have? Because I have completely fucked up life. At every juncture, I have tripped over my own mouth. I have done things that I'm ashamed of. I've done great things too. I don't beat myself up, but it takes a lot of soul searching to scratch the surface. I feel like if people start to love their self unconditionally, they'll start to love others unconditionally. And just remember, the conditions are learned. The conditions are a choice. The conditions are like a cigarette. You weren't born with them. Fuck, can we end the show? I said that perfect. Can we end the show?
We need to write a book here.
I love it when it comes together like that. Firstly, I want to say thank you for coming on here and sharing your journey and putting at the forefront that mental health is the root cause of this issue. It's not tobacco. It's not the filter. It's not any of the other things that go with it. Do I think they should make them? No. I think that it's stupid because it is not solving a problem. It is not giving any benefit whatsoever. And it's preying on a condition, a mental condition that makes you susceptible to utilizing that to plug that hole. We've already discovered that there is no benefit. So why do we continue to push it down people's throat? Because I'm watching my mother. I'm watching my mother die from something that she doesn't need. She never had to have, in that it's only a choice to stop. When the difference between life and death is a choice that is simply to stop doing something that is unnatural to begin with, that's a problem. That's a severe problem. And I don't have any animosity towards her for her situation. In fact, I have nothing but empathy because I understand that nobody wants to die at the hands of a cigarette. Nobody wants to die. But if they think that they've passed that threshold, if they think that they stepped across that 33, 40-year-old line that we were discussing earlier, then you just give up.
Yeah.
You give up and you say, well, I made my choice and I'm just going to ride it out. And the problem is it gets very, very difficult when you have to look at a loved one and see them in that situation, because it breaks your heart, because they're committing suicide daily in front of you. And that's the reality. Yeah, that's the reality. But we can't expect them to know that, because in their reality, they're still filling that gap that's been missing their entire lives with that cigarette. It's not the cigarette, it's the gap. And we got to find out what's in there. And unfortunately, cigarettes will hold you hostage for so long that you'll pass that threshold of checking your mental health and figuring out why it's there. So I encourage all of you out there, if you are a smoker or addicted or anything of that nature, just try. Just try.
And it's not so scary as you think, because, I think this is what I want to focus. Because if you check on YouTube, for example, everyone is talking about how you can quit. But and for me, that was the scary part. Yeah, but what is my life without the cigarette? I don't know the way I can react to situation. I don't know. Maybe I will freak out. Maybe I will kill someone. Maybe I will slap someone.
Yeah. Isn't that just nonsensical to think that without a item that you weren't born with, you will be prone to slapping people in its absence? We are the weirdest creatures. We make up the weirdest scenarios in our heads that make no sense. We have no reason to believe them to begin with. But because we're just locked in this cage of society, we've accepted what the conditions of living are. It's like being born and having somebody strap a training wheel to your right leg.
Basically, it is, yeah, I know. But I think for people, it's so difficult to think in that way, that it's okay. You're not going to freak out. Maybe you're going to be a little bit more tense sometimes, but not because you don't have the cigarette. It's just because, as we said, you're going to unfold issues that you had also before.
The physical withdrawals are only like a week.
Yeah, they're not so powerful at the end. I think sugar craving are more intense. That is more intense when you want to eat.
I may have that issue currently. I've been snacking on ice cream in the evening. I need to tone that down because I'm gonna replace things with other things.
I know, and then it's the other thing that I like to help people, because also for me, I went, obviously, because you don't smell cigarette or smoke or tobacco in your mouth, and your taste level increase, and you love all the food. It's like to become a child again. Like, I want to try this, I want to try. Obviously, it can happen, not to everyone. Obviously.
It's like putting on those colorblind glasses.
Yeah, you get weight, you get a bit of weight. But this is not the reason not to quit smoke.
But see, and that's the thing. There's another one of those conditions that have put into your head that you need to be a certain weight to be societally acceptable. So you would rather risk your health and quitting just to avoid the stigma of being fat, which again is another condition that doesn't exist unless we give it power. We've allowed ourselves to be painted into these boxes. Now I can't quit because I'm afraid I'm going to get fat, but there's also the lever that I can't quit because I might get fat. If you know what I mean.
Exactly.
You can use it as an excuse as well.
But as you said, this is at the end of the day acceptance. And actually last week, someone, because I returned to the office, obviously we work from home at the moment, right? So when this person saw me, because obviously I got a bit fat than before. When he saw me, he said, wow, someone ate a lot during lockdown. I said, no, actually I quit smoking. And this person said, okay, that is good, but maybe
what
you
an
should be
asshole.
more...
Sorry, I hope you're not friends with this guy later, but he's an asshole.
No, I said, I'm really proud of myself. I knew that this could happen to me. I'm working also on my fitness level and to return back. It's a step by step. By the end of the day, I'm discovering myself.
Good for you. Good for you. Also, I take back what I said a moment ago. It's an Italian thing to be very blunt. Because my mother-in-law will point out that you got fat while she hasn't seen you in 6 months. She'll just be like, hi, you got fat, and just move on. Like, she's not doing it to be mean. She's not doing it to be upset. She just points it out. And you're like, well, yes, I knew that. Thank you for stating the obvious. In case anybody else in the room wanted to know, I used to be skinnier. All right. But it's okay because she's not judging you. She's just pointing it out.
No.
Oh, she went and picked me up a hamburger like 2 days later. So
instead of going, for example, in England, no one is blunt. They go around. So if they want to say that you're fat, they're going to use all the way around. At the end of the day, they're going to say the same thing, but in a polite, let's say polite way. I prefer blunt. You're fat. Yes, it's true. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Yes, now I'm okay with that. Now I joke about it, but that comes with a certain level of acceptance, like we said earlier. Plus, humor to me is the best way to cope with mental illness. I mean, A, who doesn't want to fucking laugh? And B, it takes the power away. If you replace your worst issues in life with laughter, it will change your mindset over time. You have no choice. If you're taking a situation and applying sadness to it, if you laugh every time it happens, you're going to start associating it with a laugh. It's going to change. Also, when you use humor, like comedians and stuff like that, I say this on the show all the time. If you're on stage, you don't call anybody out. You're actually just putting the joke out there and everybody can come to the conclusion or understanding without being judged by their peers to their left and right. They can be like, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, that is kind of, that's me. So humor is great in that manner. It just, powerful. It really is. Mirko, I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been super cool.
I love you, and I love the things that you say.
Oh, I love you too. Keep coming, keep listening. And, I want to definitely have you back, see how everything's going along, how your journey's progressing. And to all of those out there struggling with addiction, just continue to try, continue to reach out. People are a lot more empathetic than you give them credit for. Here's the reality. Nobody will help you if you don't want to help yourself. And that doesn't mean that they're lecturing you until it's that time. When someone looks at you, it's kind of like going to an interview, knowing that or feeling like you're not qualified for the job. You're not going to get the job. You're not going to get the job because you believe you're not qualified. When you sell something to somebody else that you don't believe in, they don't believe you.
It's true. Pray the Lord.
I love you, Mirko. All right, everybody. Remember, be cool and keep learning.
Thank you.
Hey, academics. Thanks again for attending another class at the Tragedy Academy. You can show us some love by subscribing, downloading, and rating us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher. Or ask Amazon Alexa to play the Tragedy Academy podcast. You can find links to all major podcast platforms and past episodes at thetragedyacademy.com. You can find us on all the majors of social media, on Instagram at The Tragedy Academy 2019, on TikTok at The Tragedy Academy, and on Twitter at @tragedy_academy, where we'll post our clips of upcoming shows, updated info, and thoughts. If you'd like to be a guest, send an email to show@thetragedyacademy.com. Keep an eye out on Instagram for Tragedy Academy giveaways. Thanks again for coming to class, and remember, be cool, keep learning. What's up, academics? This is Jay. I'm here to talk to you about Into the AM. This is a clothing and apparel company that I came across last year that has the absolute coolest designs. And the reason why I was attracted to it is because I grew up without a lot of money, like many others, and had to shop on that outlet rack with the irregular items. Things like the fly was over 4 inches to the left, or the right sleeve would be twice the size of the left. It looked like I was growing horizontally. Like, it's okay, honey, you'll grow into your left arm. So you really don't get a chance to express yourself the way that you want to. You go into life, you start putting on suits, you start putting on uniforms, and you realize you'd never had a chance to truly express yourself. Enter Into the AM, a team of artists and creators who share a common vision. They see clothing as a canvas to express what drives you. Since 2012, they've developed premium apparel that elevates self-expression and provides unparalleled comfort for wherever your passions take you. Into the AM's passion for change is the driving force behind their brand. They remain committed to creating products that inspire and promote self-expression by partnering with like-minded organizations focused on giving back to communities in need. Last year, they donated 1% of all revenue from their graphic tees collection to the Art of Elysium charity. The Art of Elysium is an artist organization built on the idea that through service, art becomes a catalyst for social change. For over 24 years, the Art of Elysium has paired volunteer artists with communities to support individuals in the midst of difficult emotional life changes. They currently offer 110 community programs per month, serving over 30,000 individuals per year. The only permanent thing in life is change. Supporting charities dedicated to helping those going through these changes, trials, and tribulations require a never-ending commitment. The onus is on us as creators to affect change through our true, authentic talents, and Into the AM is the model of how this is done. Their clothes are handcrafted with care. They have a team of skilled artisans that craft each garment with the highest quality fabrics and eco-friendly inks. Not to mention, these things don't shrink, they don't fade, and they fit as if they were designed supernaturally. I'm stopped every time I wear one of the graphic tees to find out where I got it. The colors attract attention from miles, and the art is nothing short of spectacular, with designs for everyone. One of my personal favorites, Twilight Maiden. Go take a look. Into the AM does all of this while putting their money where their mouth is. 30-day money-back guarantee, lightning fast shipping, and hassle-free returns. The deals are endless. Graphic tee bundles, discount promo codes. Get over there, check it out. I'm highlighting the tees, but I'd be remiss to not mention that if you want to walk around in the absolute most comfortable shorts, joggers, and basic tees, hit up Into the AM. I even wear the basics to the gym. Head on over to thetragedyacademy.com, go to our sponsors tab, and follow the affiliate link to the Into the AM store. Help support Into the AM and the Tragedy Academy by purchasing the absolute best apparel and the best designs ever. And remember, academics, be cool and keep learning.